Here we are again with another pre-show. Welcome everyone. Gather round.
Yes, welcome, welcome, thrice welcome, despite the fact that they're all wearing green, like St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, that's weird.
April Fool!
Oh man.
Yeah, I got you all there. Our patrons aren't looking anything like that. They're all dressed in beautiful spring clothing. Can't believe everything you're told.
You're being pretty liberal with that April Fools. April Fools was Friday.
Yeah, so that was
Okay.
yesterday. Big deal.
All right. Well,
I've often said there are only 2 days of the year I'm free to be who I am. The rest of the year I've got to pretend.
all right. Well, that have at it then, Charles.
Halloween and April Fools. Those are my days of freedom.
That you actually got me big time on one of the years. You do it. You do the same thing kind of every year. But you one year you did a Facebook post. I think it was around probably 2016, 2017. I think it was 2017 because we had just started up the show, kind of. And you said, "Well, the Order of Malta has hired me. They need a new historian." And I'm gonna be shipping off. And I said, I'm happy for you, Charles. I hope it works out well.
See ya.
See ya. Man,
No,
I think you get every. I think you analyze everyone's weak spot. I think you have various tales where, you know, everyone's a different nut to crack. For
well, yeah. Well, see what it is. You got to look at things that people would like to be true, and then you just say it. Although I've got a special April Fools for the real show.
Oh, okay.
So you patrons who want to find out how your less well off brethren are going to get fooled, you stick around. You'll see. You'll see them get punked.
Very good. I'm curious. All right. All right. Let's get to it. Dawn says, I have an elder family member whose faith I have long respected, who told me they had a good week selling wheat futures off of the Ukraine crisis and expected to make more money in the future off of it. While this is certainly a legal and common investment practice, it struck my Catholic soul and mind as not being particularly Catholic nor moral to literally capitalize on someone else's misery and the potential misery of the world population. I am trying to figure out how to approach this subject with him. He likes to read, so if anyone knows of an article, essay, or book that might sway his mind on this, please let me know.
Well, I don't, frankly, but my only observation here is that the whole futures thing is based on the misery of some and the good fortune of others. That's just the way the market works. I mean, you're investing in the hopes that whatever commodity whatever commodity you're dealing with will become more expensive, and usually that means something has happened to make it more expensive. Generally, not as dramatic as Ukraine, but crop failures or whatever.
Yeah.
And then secondarily, it also means that people have to pay more for it, uh, which is a grim thing to look at. I mean, and I know of people, for instance, whose investments in industry uh, jumped in the two world wars, and they felt sort of guilty after that because, of course, their investments exploded because the companies they invested in made a lot of money making stuff for the war. And contrariwise, I know of people who in the first several years of the Depression, bought up companies like shares of companies like U.S. Steel, which were going for, pennies a share because everything had dropped. But if you had money, if you had real money at that time, it went very, very far. And they made a lot of money buying U.S. Steel then, holding on to it. You had to be able to afford to hold on to it. And then later on, it picked up and made fortunes out of it. But obviously, they couldn't have done that had the bottom not first dropped out of the market. This is all very hard and difficult stuff, frankly, when you examine the moral side of it. But I have no answer myself as to how to repair it or make it less gravedigger-like.
Yeah. That's a really tough one.
Of course, what you could do is invest in something that's a surefire flop. Then you'd lose the money and you wouldn't have to worry about someone else having the misery. What? I mean, I'm sure I could get you, boss, to invest in my new perpetual motion machine.
That is... Look, Charles, in this house, we obey the laws of thermodynamics.
Yeah, but think of the enormous amount of money you'd make if my machine actually works. You'd clean up.
If only.
Well, yeah. Is it worth the risk?
No, because you're trying to scam everybody.
It's not a scam. It's an old business practice. See, it works like this, okay? You get in on the top floor. Everybody on the top floor brings in 7 or 8 other people, each of whom bring in 7 or 8 other people, and you pay X amount of money to the people in the tier above you. You with me so far?
Mm-hmm.
And
it's called a pyramid scheme?
We don't call it a pyramid scheme anymore. That is so insensitive. I can't believe you actually use the P word.
Oh, how about Ponzi?
No, we don't use that either. What is wrong with you? We don't say those words. No, we call it multi-level marketing.
I mean, it's true in a sense, right? Like the investment is based on the timeliness of your money, right? And
that's right.
If you're a Johnny-come-lately, you're not going to do so well.
No, but if you're in at the top floor, you do very well. And that's why I'm offering you this wonderful deal on this great investment. Maybe you want to talk about it after the show.
Yeah, let's talk about it then, Charles.
Acme Perpetual Motion Inc. I'm telling you, it's going to be great.
Acme Perpetual Motion Inc. It feels like I don't know. For some reason, it reminds me of the Coyote and Roadrunner cartoon. Because he always used Acme products.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the best.
Of course.
Of course. What could go wrong?
All right. James has a bunch of questions.
If you give me $5,000 now, I'll surely double it by tomorrow.
Surely.
You sound very suspicious.
Maybe because I am.
You never used to have such an incredulous nature. You used to be very accepting.
No, that's what experience in this world fosters.
Yeah, I know. Ever since your 9th birthday, you've been really a tough nut to crack, I'll tell you. Before then, you were a lot easier.
You're talking about how they misspelled my brother's name, misspelled Steve's name, and they forgot the L?
That's right. I'll never forget that look on your face. It was very... You look very upset. I don't know why.
All right. James says, how was it that the Grand Duchy of Lithuania was able to conquer Western Ukraine, which was many times its own size, at the end of the Middle Ages, when that area had been under Mongol domination for over 100 years?
Well, that's your answer. The inhabitants were so debilitated and demoralized, living under Mongol rule, that the Lithuanians were hailed as liberators.
Hmm. Wow. So that sounds like almost like there was like hardly any fighting, just like come on in.
Not a lot, no. I mean, there was some, but not much.
Yeah. Interesting. But what about the I like being under Mongol domination? I mean, where are the Mongols? You know what I mean? Like what percentage? I guess they were spread too thin.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, there are small Mongol groups in a lot of the countries of Eastern Europe, in
Hmm.
Ukraine, in Belarus, Lithuanian Tartars, they're called,
Hmm.
in Lithuania. And you know who the most famous Lithuanian Tartar was?
Only because you've said this before, Charles Bronson.
That's right.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Death
Charles.
Wish 2, The Return of Genghis Khan, The
Hmm.
Revenge of Khan.
All right. Was the conquest of the western portions of Ukraine by the Grand Duchy of Lithuania and its later incorporation into the Polish Lithuanian Commonwealth the reason why there is a more prominent Catholic presence in that part of the country? Or was the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church always more prevalent in that area?
No, that's exactly why. In 1596, the Union of Brest united the Russian or Ruthenian Orthodox of the Lithuanian Polish Commonwealth with the Holy See.
Hmm.
And that's exactly where both Ukrainian and Ruthenian Greek Catholic churches of today come from.
Are there any remaining elements of the Commonwealth and Habsburg culture in Western Ukraine?
Oh, yeah, lots and lots and lots. You can see it in the architecture and the styles, especially the Habsburg element in Lviv, in Chernovitz, that is to say, in what was eastern Galicia and Bukovina, which is divided. The north part of it is in Ukraine, the south part's in Romania. And you know why Bukovina is a very important province to know, even though it's small?
What? Why?
Because it is in Bukovina that you have the Borgo Pass. And you may remember that one side of the Borgo Pass there was a castle owned by a Transylvanian nobleman by the name of Dracula.
Really? There
Yes,
was a nobleman with the name of Dracula.
at least there was in the novel, and there was in the movies. The children of the night, what music they make. Castle Dracula near Bistritz in the Borgo Pass. Yes, this was a castle the locals did not journey to voluntarily. This was why young Mr. Renfield was told by the local tavern owner, no, do not go to the castle. And when he could not be dissuaded, the old lady of the inns tied a crucifix around his neck. At first he did not want it, but she said, for your mother's sake. And so, and so the carriage arrived at the tavern, and Mr. Renfield was taken to Castle Dracula. Yeah. Have you had your daily dose of weird?
I have a feeling I'm gonna get a lot more. So, um,
More weird?
from you,
What?
yes. But what did I remember you were telling the story where you're doing this sort of voice over in Eastern Europe, and somebody made a kind of a sharp comment about it, about what it sounded like.
Yeah, they should hit.
What was that what did you say?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember.
It was like
It was. Hmm?
it was like Hollywood mixed with something else. I forgot.
Yeah. It was Hollywood vampire or something. And I thought, well, okay. You must understand that it is different under the moonlight in the Carpathians. And of course, what is funny is that now I go to school with many people who have been to the Carpathians or even live there. And when they hear this accent, they say, it sounds like a Hollywood vampire. It is the true, real Eastern European accent, not to be confused with all the funny stuff I hear all the time from people who are actually from there. You see, Hollywood is the real. The place itself, the location, is imaginary, only necessary, if at all, for establishing shots.
Okay.
You know, is like I tell Germans here. There are many Germans from South Germany, Bavaria. And I explain to them that their king, Ludwig, was inspired to build the beautiful castle of Neuschwanstein by that our own Disneyland. Sleeping Beauty's castle at Disneyland was, of course, the inspiration for Neuschwanstein.
I don't know if the timeline matches to in your face.
Excuse me, who is telling this story? You or me? Why are you bringing up timeline? Who needs timeline? Did Ludwig register his castle with the Writers Guild? No. So Disney came first.
Okay.
Disney got patent. Ludwig got bupkis.
Here.
So Disney
Are you
came
drifting
first.
into Yiddish?
Well. Well, what do you think the Hollywood generic Central European accent was really based on? Memories of the old country. So who you gonna trust, Disney or Mad King Ludwig? Ludwig was insane. You can't trust him anyway. Disney came first. Everyone knows this. You
All
know,
right.
there were no cartoons of Sleeping Beauty before Disney. Europeans claim they made up Sleeping Beauty. Not true. They have no cartoons before Disney. Invented by Disney.
Okay, Charles.
You haven't seen any German or French cartoons of Sleeping Beauty before 1920, have you?
No, not before
No.
1920. Nope.
No, you haven't, because Disney invented them.
Okay. All right. All right, moving on if we can.
As one does.
As one does. We've got a message from TC, who's a new Patreon. Welcome to the crew, TC. He says, having recently joined the humble custodial crew, I'm excited to submit this question. I've heard Charles speak in the past of having been to the old First Ward, and I therefore...
that's right. Bass McCarthy's in the old First Ward. Beautiful memories.
And I therefore infer that he must have had at least some degree of familiarity with the Nickel City, also known as the Queen City of the Great Lakes, also known as Buffalo, New York.
That's right.
So I wonder, did Charles ever have the opportunity to visit Our Lady of Victory Basilica just south of the city of Lackawanna? If
He sure
so,
did. Yep.
would Charles be good enough to share with the Tumbler House audience any knowledge he might have about OLV, the life and works of the Venerable Nelson Baker, and or his ongoing cause for canonization? I was actually baptized in the OLV infant home across the street, and on the rare occasions I am able to visit my old hometown, I always enjoy spending some prayerful time in the basilica. It really is an amazing shrine to Our Lady.
Yeah, it sure is. It really is incredible. It's huge, beautiful dome, and Buffalo in general has a lot of beautiful churches, but Our Lady of Victory really stands out. It's just incredible.
Hmm.
Father Baker was one of these pioneer priests. I don't mean in the 1820s, but I think he started out like 1890. But he worked for over 50 years, and he built not just the basilica, the foundling home, a hospital, a home for the aged. And these were collectively called the Father Baker institutions. And it's important to remember that, of course, as in so much of the Northeast, the Catholic population, when he started his work in Buffalo, was very poor for the most part. You know, and he, like Father McGivney with the Knights of Columbus, he really pulled together the locals and the local Catholics.
Hmm.
So much so that politicians, including dear old Boss McCarthy in the first ward, they had to, take. He was an incredible man while he was alive, and people have gotten favors from him since he's been dead, apparently. So, I hope very much that his cause goes to completion and that he's beatified and canonized.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, one of the important things about looking at priests like Father Baker or Father McGivney or Monsignor Valois in New Bedford, Mass, or can't think of his name, another Irishman in Lawrence, Mass. There were a lot of these guys that almost became the soul of their city. These
Wow.
priests in the 19th and first half of the 20th century. Um, who just epitomized all that was best in their city. And these are usually kind of run down, gritty places, but they brought the faith into them firstly, and with the faith also some other good things.
Hmm.
Um, it was a difficult time, but in some ways it was the golden age of Catholic endeavor.
Hmm. Okay. Anne says, I was happy to hear that Charles is planning to attend a lecture on the politics in Dante's times. I wonder if Charles would like to comment on some of the ways in which Dante's exile from Florence inspired the Divine Comedy.
Well, several ways. One is that it led him to despair of a purely political solution, either to his own problems or to those of Italy. And it's not that he was ever not a practicing Catholic, but it brought the faith home much more clearly to him.
Hmm.
And his exile also convinced him that only a restoration of the empire could end Italy's endemic problems.
Hmm.
Of course, that didn't happen, but
Yeah.
there it is. But it certainly being exiled from Florence was a hugely formative effect on him, both for good and bad.
Hmm. All right. That will do it for the pre-show, everyone. Um, hope you've enjoyed it. A short but sweet one.
So that's it then.
That's it.
So we're just abandoning them.
We are a moving forward with our lives. You want to move forward, don't you? Or do you want to go backwards?
I want to bathe in the moonlight on the ruined battlements of a castle in the Carpathians.
Very good. Very good. Whatever you
Well,
want. I'm all for it, Charles.
would you like to do that? Bathe in the moonlight in the ruined battlements of a castle in the Carpathian Mountains?
Yes. Although
To
I don't know where
see,
Carpathia is.
well, there's no such country as Carpathia per se. It's just the Carpathian Mountains. However, while you're doing that, think of it. You'd be able to say, as you heard the wolves howling, the children of the night, what music they make. Would that be great?
That would be great. What is that from? Is that from
That's from the movie Dracula,
what year?
1933,
Wow.
with Bela Lugosi. And it was Hollywood's view of Central Europe to a T. It was really, really wonderful. Because you see, buried deep in the heart of the filmmaker is a love of the moonlight, high over the broken battlements of his ancestral homeland. You like that?
I love that.
Well,
I gotta see
do
that
you like?
movie. They don't play that on Turner Classic Movies or some of the old timey movie channels.
Well, you should be able to find it online.
Yeah. Okay, I've seen what's the ugly Dracula? Nosferatu. Nosferatu.
Nosferatu, the ugly Dracula.
Yeah, the ugly Dracula.
Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I would go for
Bela
Dracula with Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
Because you see, he was a real Magyar. And of course, as Martin Landau puts it so well when playing him in Ed Wood, you must be double jointed and you must be Hungarian.
All right, everyone. Stay tuned for the full episode coming right at you.
That's right. If you thought you were weirded out now, you just wait.
Weird hasn't even begun to fight.
No, indeed.
All right.
See you in a minute.